Hello everyone, in this video we are going to be discussing the skills and the extras section of the resume, and that's all located in Module 5. But before we discuss those last two components of the resume, I wanted to go over what you're expected to, the work that we're going to be doing this week and the homework. We are in week 8, and we will be discussing the resume skills and extras in class, and then the out of class work or the homework would be the Module 5 Workplace Documents Practice Talent Assessment. That's located in Module 5 Assignments. And then you're also going to be updating your resume with your skills as well as the extras if you haven't already done so. All of this work will be due by March 7th at 11:59 p.m. Now, the whole process of working on your resume in pieces, it may have felt a little cumbersome, but as you finish your resume, you're going to hopefully see the strength in each of your resume's components and realize why the process was broken down this way. This discussion is going to be centered around the final parts of your resume, the skills portion, as well as the extra section. Some people might think that it's a little simple to talk about yourself or all the positive traits and all the positive accomplishments you've had. Might be easier when doing it in an informal setting, but when you're completing these sections in your resume, you have to be specific and you have to follow a specific format, just as you've done in the other sections, as you've done in the contact section, the work experience section, the educational background section. Many hiring decisions come down to a handful of candidates, and a potential employer has to pick just one person or how many ever open slots are available. They have to stay within that number, and they only have a certain amount of people to pick from. What helps them make the decision a little easier might be what you have in these last two sections that we're going to be discussing, the skills and the extra section of the candidate's resume. As we'll discuss in the next few slides, that the extra section that can include things like your professional memberships, certifications, and any other credentials that you feel will help you stand out, while the skills section focuses on the abilities you have that make you a particularly strong candidate for that job. So just like all the other sections of your resume, the skills section is meant to inform, but it's also meant to impress upon that job that you're trying to get into. It's just to impress people that you can do what you say you can do. The skills section can often take care of impressing potential employers more so than any other section that you have in your resume. This section gives you a chance to focus on your abilities and what really sets you apart from other applicants. The skills you choose to highlight on your resume should match the job requirements or the descriptions of the position you're applying for. So don't be afraid to tweak your resume to fit whatever opportunity you're trying to get into. As you work on this section, be aware that there's different types of skills that you could list. You're going to have your hard skills and you're going to have soft skills. The hard skills are those can be measured. They are often specific to the individual job or the opportunity you're trying to seek. For instance, if the number of words you can type is pretty good or pretty impressive, that might be good. But if you're not going for a job where typing is required, then that skill really doesn't matter. A hard skill is a skill that, again, is specific to that job, what the job requires, meaning that it's more than likely going to be listed on that posting or in that ad. You can gain the hard skills by going to school, through training, through different certification programs, and also you can gain it through work experience. Some examples that you can include as far as hard skills on your resume would be if you understand different computer programs. You might know your way around the Microsoft Office suite, or you might know how to do programming in C++ or Perl. You, if you're in the medical field, it's a very useful skill to be able to draw blood. Also in the medical field, you might have to have different certifications in medical coding, or you might have to have first aid training or CPR training, or you're going to have some hard skills. So just keep that in mind. Now, on the other side, you have your hard skills, then you have your soft skills. The soft skills, those are a little harder to measure or to quantify, but they are very important to include on your resume. Soft skills are personal attributes and are often interpersonal in nature, meaning that they impact how we work or interact with other people. These skills are similar to what we call transferable skills. So when you think of soft skills, think of transferable skills, and transferable skills will likely be left in your resume no matter what the job you're applying for, because these jobs transcend many different positions and are necessary for a variety of jobs. Now, employers do care about soft skills because, again, those transfer to a variety of positions. A person with a lot of soft skills is likely to be able to adapt and be able to complete a variety of tasks. Also, most jobs will pretty much require people to interact with others, whether it be clients, customers, coworkers, subordinates, or people or superiors. You're going to have to interact with other people. So soft skills speak to a person's ability to interact with other people. So skills like the ability to communicate, whether it's verbally, written, the ability to solve problems, being flexible, having management skills, or having leadership skills. Those are examples of soft skills. To decide what soft skills to include on your resume, just like you would with hard skills, you're going to want to look at whatever the job posting is, or whatever the opportunity post is. You want to jot down some of the requirements of that job, and you're going to highlight what skills you have or what skills you think you possess on your resume based off of that. Now, the next section we're going to talk about is the extra section. So far, um, throughout your resume, you've highlighted your work experience, you've highlighted your educational background, you've definitely put some contact information in there, and then you did your skills section. The extra section can be used to either get your foot in the door for an interview, or it might get you the job that you're trying to seek, or the opportunity you're trying to seek. There are several different ways to do extra sections, and there's different things you need to decide when doing the extra section. Um, the three things that I have listed that you need to decide on is which items are important to include. Again, you're going to get an idea of what you need to include when it comes to the extra section by looking at the posting. which items do you have enough info to meaningfully fill in to your resume? And then the third thing is which items will improve your resume. So you have three different things that you need to consider when doing this extra resume. You have to remember that the extras you add to your resume are just another bit of information to demonstrate that you are more qualified than any other candidate that's applying for that opportunity. The the other sections of your resume, again, may be enough on their own, but if you have items you want to showcase that don't fit elsewhere, you can put them at the end of the document or at the end of your resume in the extra or the supplemental section. For certain jobs, these extras may impress, but for others, they may not impress. If you don't have the room for the extra section at the end of your resume, or you don't have any extras to list, then it's all right. You don't have to. This is an optional section to put on your resume if you have the room, and again, if you have meaningful items to fill into that section. So it's just optional. You don't have to include it on your resume. Now, some things you want to include in this section would be like professional memberships, or if you belong to different societies. What this does is it showcases that you're a lifelong learner and you always are seeking to improve. The technical skills, these can also be placed in this section, or you can place them in the skills right after the professional summary section of your resume. Certifications and licenses. Again, these may also be required for some jobs. If they are, then you will probably want to list them in this section rather than lumping them in with anything extra. Make sure things that are required or recommended for the job that you're trying to apply for, that it stands out on your resume. And when you're discussing things like volunteer work or academic extras, in my previous videos, I mentioned that you can put those items within your work experience or your educational background section, but you can also include them in this section as well. Those items, again, those items can be placed in the extras or supplemental section, or they can be placed in the educational. So I do have three examples of certifications, um, volunteer, as well as honors and rewards. And as you can see, it's pretty basic. You just put the section name, whether it's certifications or whether it's professional memberships. You put the certification that you have, when you received it, and you can. It's okay to put down where you received it from, if it was from a college or anything like that. As far as board memberships or professional memberships or societies, again, you're going to put what position you held, the name of the organization, and the time that you spent in that organization. As far as volunteer, it kind of looks like the work experience. And again, this can go in the work experience section if you don't have any work experience or you have huge gaps in your work history. It's okay to place the volunteer work in that section, or it can go in this section as well. And then the honors, that can go in the educational section, or it can go into this section. You just want to make sure that wherever you place it, that you don't duplicate it in another section. So it always should only be on one section. All right, the last part of this discussion or this video is going to be the reference section. Your professional references are people, a potential employer, or whatever opportunity you're trying to get they can contact to learn more about your work experience and job related skills. When you select people to act as a reference, you want to pick people who will say positive things about you and who can give a great deal of detail of your experiences if they need to. Some things you want to include in your list of references uh, would be their name, the company that they work for, the job title that they have, their address, if it's necessary, the phone number, and definitely an email address. And generally, unless otherwise stated, your reference list should contain just three references. Now on here, there's four. Maybe the job is asking for four or five, but you definitely want to have three go-to people that can act as a reference for you. Now, because many jobs will request contact they'll contact a professional reference. You want to make sure that you have that person's permission to use them as a reference before you put them on your reference page, because there's a lot of personal information that's included. As you can see, you might have to give out their phone number, you might have to give out their email address or their home phone or their home address. You might have to include that. So it's always good to get in touch with that person and let them know that you're going to be using them as a reference. As far as anything else on here, again, just make sure that you select people that are going to provide you with the positive. They're going to say positive things about you. Believe it or not, there are people that will give bad references or bad recommendations for one reason or the other. So make sure it's very, very important that you get permission from that person. And also, when you do have the three references, make sure you give them an updated version of your resume. That's also important because if they're going to be saying good things about you, you want to make sure what they're saying about you matches what you're going to be discussing in your interview or whatever opportunity you're going for. So it's always good to definitely tell that person that you're using them as a reference. And then the last thing, as you can see at the bottom, always, always, always proofread your resume. One simple mistake or one simple error on your resume could be the difference between you receiving that opportunity and not receiving that opportunity.